art needs to have space to exist, outside of anyone's opinion of it. It just has to have space. It has to have room to be. It's a dangerous thing to start looking for approval from your family members or your friends, because when they don't give it, it's devastating. And when they do give it, it could be misleading. I grew up playing Sonic on Sega Genesis, and the cartoons I always watched. It was one of my favorite things ever, And so the fact that my voice can be heard in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie and Jim Carrey's in the movie, it's just the best thing ever. Like when I was growing up, I didn't realize that quarks are the fundamental elements. I had never heard of them, but they're just charges of energy. When people who are like stereotypes as hippies are like, man, we're all just energy, they're telling the truth. It's the truth.
Like hundreds of thousands of others, I recently became a fan of a rock band, Ghosthounds. The unique style mixes rock and roll, blues, and a bit of a bluegrass, making their music very catchy and memorable. Another unique thing about their music is the voice of the lead singer, Tre Nation. I mean, come on, so good, man. Anyway, in this interview, I'm speaking with him about the origin of the band, their music, influences, and his life. Enjoy. I heard this story, or maybe I read this story, that some time ago, you posted an Instagram story, and it happened to be time when Ghosthounds were looking for a lead singer.
Mm-hmm.
They ran into it, they contacted you, and that's how it all started. Is it true?
Yeah, so Johnny Bob, the lead guitarist in the band, he was in search of a singer, and a mutual friend of ours was the one that posted a story of me singing Signed, Sealed, Delivered at a wedding. And we met up, and it turned out that we lived right around the street from each other in Brooklyn, and we had never met before.
Wow.
Had a lot of mutual friends, and we just had no idea who each other were, So it was pretty synchronistic time. Pretty awesome.
Did you ask him what exactly he liked about that Instagram story?
I didn't. I actually ignored him for about a week, and because I thought it was spam, because he was being very cryptic about what this band was. And it just, when we met up, we kind of like developed a very sincere musical appreciation for each other. So I kind of can surmise what he liked about it, because it's what he likes, when we are together on stage.
So what happened then? You all met up with him and with the team, and
we were in Brooklyn, and the band is though based out of Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. So we both flew to Pittsburgh the very next day after I did an audition, and then we auditioned here. Originally, there was a different set of band members. It was just me and Johnny at first, and there was a different drummer, keyboard player, and bass player, and they were all from Nashville and New York. And there's people that we didn't really know very well, but they decided that they didn't really feel like they wanted to be a part of the band. So we got to bring our friends in, and that's Bennett Miller on the bass. He and Johnny have been knowing each other for almost a decade, doing, music in New York, and same with Blaze. Blaze and Johnny have been friends for about 15 years, and they've done a bunch of music projects together. So that was awesome to get them there. And then we kind of discovered Joe, our piano player, by accident. He was a fill-in for someone who was supposed to audition, and he's just so amazing. We were like, can you please stay? We love you. Stay forever. And he did. So it's wonderful. It's a beautiful family we have going on.
Eventually, it's ended up being a group of friends, right, together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about the music? Like, I'm guessing every one of you come from different background, and I don't think you grew up listening to rock and roll, right?
No, I didn't. So the beautiful thing about this band is that we all grew up listening to different kinds of music. We all have different expertise. Johnny and Thomas, our rhythm guitar player, who's also the founder of the band, who also writes all the songs. They grew up listening to blues and the Rolling Stones kinds of rock, and it's Johnny loves Jimi Hendrix. It's like, that's his favorite guitar player, his favorite artist. And Thomas's favorite band is the Stones. And so they already had that connection. But I think what the rest of us bring to it just kind of like adds a little bit of flavor on it. Like, I grew up singing gospel music, and I love pop music, and I love R&B music. I love hip hop. I love like alternative rock. Florence and the Machine is one of my favorite bands. Coldplay, I love them, So bringing all those flavors together, with a little bit of jazz from Bennett. He has a jazz degree. Blaze is a hip hop drummer by nature, and all those things together just sound so cool, and they just create this wonderful thing that we got going on.
When I'm listening to you guys, I'm hearing rock and roll, I'm hearing a little bit of blues, and even in earlier albums, I would even hear some bluegrass. Like, how would you describe your music?
We like to say that we're based in blues, country, and rock, but because the Rolling Stones are one of our biggest influences, we kind of take a page out of their book as far as like allowing ourselves to kind of chameleonize a bit. And so we're not afraid to just allow other elements to come in and add flavor. It just makes it more fun for us.
One of the unique thing about your music, it's obviously your voice. And I'm gonna put you on spot here. I'm not trying to compliment you. Okay, stop it. I'm gonna put you on spot. So for people who haven't heard your music, how do you describe your singing voice?
Well, that's the thing, is that I think the best singers, the ones that I enjoy the most, also have that skill of chameleonizing themselves. So there's times in Ghosthounds where like I'll bring a real deep gospel kind of sensation to the vocals. And then there's other times where, I'll sing very falsetto and very pretty and soft. And, there's times where it's R&B focused. Like we have a song called Shadow Touches Mine from our first record. And the idea that we had on that was to emulate Al Green. And so I tried to do a little Al Green inflections. I think the best singers are kind of actors in that sense, where they can do different things with their voice to fit the character of the song. And it helps tell the story, So I try to do that with myself. So there's not really a thing that I like to say, well, I sound like this guy or this person. I like to be able to just sound like a bunch of different people. I think that's makes it more fun.
You mentioned that Thomas writes music, right? And what's a typical process for songwriting in general?
So for the first few records that we've done, we have worked with a songwriter called Kevin Bowe. He used to write for Johnny Lang and for Etta James and for a bunch of different people. And so he joined us from the very beginning, 2018. And Thomas, what he'll do is he keeps a book. And he loves to tell stories. So everything he writes is narrative driven. It's not really personal for him. And if it is, it's from the perspective of a character that's not him. And so he'll write a story, and then Kevin will, they'll get together and they'll try to map out a structure of a song, which is like verse, chorus, bridge, and then he'll bring it to us, and then I'll work out a melody for it, and, just to try to make sure that the right amount of syllables fit within the chord structure that we have going on. And then the band we'll get it all in the room together and just play and see how it sounds and go from there. We record everything that we rehearsed. So we'll play a few things, go listen to it, say, oh, this part needs to change. This should probably be like this. This should change a little bit here. The vocals should be up there and not down there, or, and it's a beautiful collaborative effort. It's a bunch of chefs in the kitchen, but it's a great meal that comes out of it,
Yeah, it's interesting. When there are a bunch of chefs in the kitchen, there might be some disagreement about stuff. How do you guys come to the consensus?
It's so weird because we have never really had that conflict. We work really well together. We are all very generous in our collaboration. We'll concede, to the best idea, because it's about making the song as good as it can be, not about our individual satiation of like, well, I had that part and that's what makes it's like, no, man, what makes the song great? What can we do to make this the best song that we can, and everyone has that same goal. So it works really well. It's been pretty good so far.
So you have a new album, right? First Last Time.
Yes, First Last Time just came out. We're very, very proud of it.
What was different about recording this album relative to prior ones?
The only thing that I think was different about this one is that we did try to lean in a little bit more to our country sensibility. I grew up in Texas, which is very much so country, rock and roll, it's very American, in the stereotypical sense. So I always felt like that would be a really good thing for us to kind of like, lean into. And we did on this record. We did a John Denver cover. We covered Country Roads. We tried to be strange and just, do what we felt. So we covered Hot Dog by Led Zeppelin, which is already a strange song, but it lends itself to like a bluegrass kind of feel. And the single Last Train to Nowhere is definitely, we were going for a Western cowboy themed kind of thing. And I I think we did a lot more of that on this record, and it shows very transparently.
That song makes numbers, man, and it's fantastic. Like, how
Thank you.
When you recorded this song, like, or any other song, how do you know that this gonna be the song that kind of leads the album? How do you choose?
You know, it's a process that comes together over a little bit of time. When we recorded that song, there was something in the air. Like everyone's very confident. Like, yeah, this is the one. This is going to be the one. And we were initially going to put it out as our first single, but because we felt so strongly about it, we decided to do a couple of singles before and then just warm people up to this one. And I think it worked out really well. It was awesome. It's been
Yeah,
great.
and how does it work? Like you mentioned that you want to put out as a first single. So walk me through that process. Like you release one single and then another one and then the full album. Is it how it is?
Just as a default, it's usually what people do. They'll put out a couple of singles, maybe two or three, and then they'll release the album and then put more singles out after that, and then alternative versions of the songs. And so we just follow that formula, and try to like gauge what feels good for us. We have a team of people that gets together and helps make those decisions. And we have actually a very, very wonderful team behind us. And I would love to give them as much acknowledgement. It's always something that we just kind of allow a flow to happen, and whatever feels the best for us, we'll do with that and take one step at a time.
And the videos that I think there are like two different videos. For one is like looks like movie, and the other one is more like a live performance. Yeah. How does that come about?
The guy that does all of our videos, his name is Jay Arkancelin. He's a guy out of Utah. And he's a movie maker. He loves film, and he loves portraying a story through film. And so it's always fun to work with him. The performance video that we had was actually, I don't know if you go back and see, if you'll be able to tell, but it's actually, we filmed that to go with the video. That's the narrative with the cowboy. It was just supposed to be cut in between, and it's color. So we just decided to do a black and white and just only use that shot and see how it worked. And we were surprised that, people liked it, it was really cool. But those are all just creative decisions that we make. We'll send our manager suggestions, or she'll have ideas and she'll say, hey, well, I just want to try this and see how it works. We try a lot of things, and some of them work and some of them don't, but that's kind of like the nature of the beast,
And who
just
writes
put it out there.
Who writes the script for it? Is it him, that Utah guy?
So Thomas will kind of decide what direction to go in, and he'll say, I want this feeling. I want the character to be like this. And this is the objective. This is the story I'm trying to get across. And then he kind of just turns us loose and is like, go do it and show me what you got, So it's really fun to play around in that way. Like we just get a nice little budget to make some art, and it feels wonderful. It feels awesome.
I saw one of your earlier ones, Between Me and Devil. That was a really cool video too. Like,
thank you very much.
Interesting.
We're also very, very proud of that video.
Is it the same team who put it together?
Same team. And we filmed that one partially here in Pittsburgh. There's a studio called This Is Red that we work with a lot. Amazing designers. Jeff Meyer. He does amazing animation, and his editing is just wonderful. And so they have a beautiful space, and they let us film a bit there, and we filmed a bit in Utah in the desert, and that was fun. Very challenging, but very fun. We had a live snake in the video. We had a couple of local celebrities. It was very fun. It was really awesome to do. It was a good time. I'm very proud of that video.
It was very, very, very cool. I really liked it. And you mentioned the manager. How did she find you?
Our manager is Dalen Bowman. I believe she used to work with a company called Maverick Entertainment. They managed Madonna. I think she's worked with Ty Dolla $ign and Imagine Dragons. I don't know how we got on their table, but they were just kind of presenting us in front of a bunch of different managers. And actually, what made her decide to come on is she had one of our songs just in her back pocket, and she went into a meeting, and they were trying to get a song for a movie. And she was like, oh, hey, what about this song? It's a band that I'm thinking about managing. And she got one of our songs into the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
I have it there.
Yeah, she did that before she was even our manager, And so we realized right away that we have a very beautiful synergy and that we should have her on our team. We really need her on our team, you know? And she's been amazing. She's phenomenal. She's really, really great at what she does.
I like how you just casually drop Madonna and Imagine Dragon there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, those old people, whatever.
Those rookies. And
Yeah.
what does manager even do for you guys?
Almost everything, man. She's the glue that keeps this whole thing running, you know? Every person that comes on this team that is a resource for us, she's the one that has brought them in and that's internally and externally. You know, there's so much that's on a manager's plate. I feel like they're so underappreciated in the world, but there's such a necessity. And if you have the wrong one, it can be disastrous. And we have the right one, and it's becoming more and more evident, you know.
Was there any other person reaching out to you trying to manage you guys?
We did have a manager before. His name is Mark Proct, and he managed Stevie Ray Vaughan a while ago, of course. But that just kind of dissolved. At one point, we may have been poached by Scooter Braun, but I don't think he knew exactly what to do with us, you know? But I think we landed in a great spot. We have an absolutely wonderful manager. She's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it helps that she puts your son in Sonic, right? Like when you heard the bad news in the movie, what was the feeling?
Oh man, I was elated. You know, I was born in the 80s and I grew up playing Sonic on Sega Genesis and the cartoons I always watched. It was one of my favorite things ever, you know? And so the fact that my voice can be heard in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie and Jim Carrey's in the movie, it's just the best thing ever. Like,
wow, yeah,
it's awesome. A phenomenal feeling. There's nothing else like it. The little kid in me is so satiated.
When did you phone your family, telling them about stuff? And by the way, when did you start phoning your family saying you're not gonna believe this? This what happened?
You know, I don't. You know, I've been a musician since I was 13, and a lot of times you just have to do what you do and congratulate yourself, because it's a dangerous thing to start looking for approval from your family members or your friends, you know, because when they don't give it, it's devastating. And when they do give it, it could be misleading. So you kind of have to like be your own center of gravity. So I just do my job. You know, I follow my dream. And a lot of times my friends and my family will find things out about over social media, and they'll be angry. Like, why didn't you tell me? Well, hey, I mean, I also ate pizza today. I didn't tell you that. Like, it's fine. It's okay. If it's important, if it's working, then you'll know. I don't have to tell you.
Isn't that then a pretty lonely road then, if you kind of keep it to yourself? It's very competitive field in general, right? Like, how do you keep yourself moving? Like, especially in the beginning.
It's love for what you do. You know, this year's the first year in 22 years of doing music that I've had my face on a billboard, and that felt amazing. It was in Hollywood, you know? It's like something that people dream of. But that's not the thing that satiates me, that makes me want to keep doing it. It's how I feel when I'm writing a song for another artist, or when I'm performing, you know, on stage. It's those things that really remind me why I love doing this. And I'm pretty sure the band feels the same way. Like, it's not the accolades that we can accomplish through doing our art, but it's the actual making of the art itself that is really what keeps us passionate.
But isn't accolades kind of also important, or not at all? We don't care at all.
I don't care for the accolades because it's like, if you believe the good stuff, you got to believe the bad stuff too. And with entertainment, there's a thing that we have where we feel so entitled to like give our opinion and to criticize other people, and we just become the ultimate authority, you know? And I feel like that's a little dangerous for art, because art needs to have space to exist, you know, outside of anyone's opinion of it. It just has to have space. It has to have room to be. And I think that we kind of choke. If you pay attention to those kind of things, you can kind of choke that out, choke the life out of your art, and everything will become about, well, how do I get more numbers, or how do I get these people to like it, or these people to, what do I do for them? And it becomes less and less about what's feeding my soul to do, you know? What is my heart wanting to say?
What is the line though between art and numbers? Because numbers probably get to the picture eventually, especially in the band where there are 6 people, right? Or
yeah.
How many people you have. At least somebody will be like, hey, I want numbers.
Yeah, I mean, numbers, don't get me wrong. On the business
Yeah.
end, numbers are always very the most important thing, you know? It's how we can keep our business running and how we have money to get to shows and to buy merch and, you know? I mean, money's not important. I don't want to be naive and assume, you know, make that assumption. But I think that it's like running a restaurant. They're the people who are making the food, and they're the people who are managing the restaurant. And to the managers, everything is important. The food's got to be good, but also the customers have to be okay. The temperature in the room has to be great. But to the chefs, they're thinking about the food. How can I make this so tasty that this person wants more of it and wants to come back?
Makes sense. You recently signed with Gibson.
Yes.
What does it mean for your band, man?
One thing that I've noticed for myself is that it's definitely given us a huge support system. Everyone that we meet from Gibson, they're such nice people and they really love what they do. And they're very passionate about us as artists. And they want to make sure that they show up for us and that they support us and help us do all the things that our little hearts desire, you know? I have a couple of projects coming up with them because there's some artists that I wanted to collaborate with, and they're just going to make it happen. And it's very fun. They kind of tout us around, and like, it feels really good. It feels like being a trophy almost, you know? It feels wonderful. They're just a bunch of phenomenal humans. And I'm very, very grateful that we get to be a part of their family.
You originally from San Antonio. What's your most vivid memory of your childhood in San Antonio?
My most vivid memory. You know, my friends have always been very important to me. Whatever group of friends I have, they've always been the center of my world. And when I was younger, I had some of the best friends, and some of them are still my friends now. We're just separated in different parts of the world. But the way that you're able to connect with humans when you're younger, before you become jaded and before you've had like a lot of bad things happen, is just so beautiful to me. And I think whenever I think of home, that's what I think of, is just being with my friends and doing music together and making little movies. And, you know, we just love art and creating art. And it was like our favorite thing to do. And just doing your favorite thing with your favorite people is just a very lovely feeling.
How would your childhood friends describe you?
How would my childhood friends describe me? Very loud, probably. Very opinionated. I talk very, very much. And I think that that's become a part of my reputation. And I hope that they describe me as fun. I love to laugh. I love to bring good energy into a space. It's like my personal goal, you know? So yeah, I hope that's the way that they would describe me.
And I think you have 5 siblings.
How do you know that? I do.
I'm a spy. No, I just.
Yeah, my dad has 6 children. I'm my mom's only child, but my dad has he's got a pack. And yeah, all my siblings are, at one point in their lives, they were star athletes, you know. And
wow.
I got the music gene. I'm the only one that does music out of all of us. And I'm not sure why it turned out that way, but yeah, I'm usually the black sheep of the family in that regard.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Like, how many of you guys are musicians? It seems like you're the only one.
I'm the only one. Neither of my parents do music. My grandparents don't do music. None of my cousins. No one. I'm the solitary one.
And how did you tell?
That's a little late.
What's their reaction to that? When you, especially in the beginning, when you told them that you want to do music, what did they say? Like, okay, go ahead and try.
Everyone's always been very supportive of me and very, very proud of me. You know, even when I would do talent shows, like my family members that didn't show up, they would call me like, "Hey, I heard you did great." I have a cousin who's my age. She's my mom's niece, and we went to school together. And all of my concerts, she would come and she would bring a sign. And it was really beautiful because when we opened up for the Rolling Stones for the first time, she brought a sign in the same fashion that she would make when we were in middle school and high school. And it was very beautiful, very sentimental. But yeah, my family's always been very supportive of me and very proud of me. No one's ever made me feel like I was making the wrong choice, you know, by pursuing my dream. And I think that's very fortunate. I'm very fortunate for that.
And when you were a kid, did you want to be a musician when you grew up, or what did you want to do?
Whole life. My whole entire life. My mother and my grandmother were actually having a conversation with me about that because I loved Disney movies growing up. And they would tell me that I would learn the songs and I would sing them all the time. And if they tried to read me the book, I'd be like, no, no, that's not how it goes. Let me tell you how it really goes. And I'd go through the whole movie, just line by line, sing all the songs. I've loved to do this my whole life. It's the thing that makes me feel alive, you know, just telling stories and singing and acting and dancing and just it makes me feel wonderful. There's no other feeling like it.
At some point, you're considering to become a professor of physics, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. In 2018, my cousin graduated with her PhD in child psychiatry, and she's always been, because we're the same age, I've watched her grow up into a wonderful, wonderful human, and she's always been a source of inspiration for me. And at the time, I was doing cover music in Asia, and I've been doing it for 3 years and singing 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night and rehearsing 2 hours a day. It was taking a toll on me. And I was wondering, I could still do music, but professionally, maybe I should do something a little more adult. I love particle physics. I've always been a spiritual person. I grew up in church, and I love science, and I love knowing the reality of things, and there's something that is very spiritual about particle physics to me, because it reminds me that at the very core of who we are, that we're energy. When I was growing up, I didn't realize that quarks are the fundamental elements. I had never heard of them, but they're just charges of energy. When people who are like stereotypes as hippies are like, man, we're all just energy, they're telling the truth. It's the truth. And I that just makes me very happy, and it makes me excited. And I want to get the younger generation excited about science, because they need some tools, because they got a lot of world changing to do. We're kind of like sending it in a direction, and they got to turn it around. So we knowing science is like, I'm very passionate about that. And hopefully in the future, I'll be able to make some contributions, to school districts for science programs, because I think they're very important.
So you were a musician in Asia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you came back to go to University of Texas to get your degree?
No, I moved to the United States. When I moved back, I've moved to New York, and I was going to go to CUNY, and my professor was going to be Michio Kaku, who is he was the head of the department, and so I was so adamant. I was like, I'm going to do it. This is it. I'm going to turn a new leaf. And then I got to New York, and I couldn't turn down the money that I would be making from working in wedding bands. It was a lot. Oh, and so that just kind of like took precedence, over anything I'd planned to do prior,
Of a science, screw that.
Yeah, like I'm making what I would make in a month in 2 gigs here, and it's like, well, I gotta keep going. Like, I gotta keep doing more of this. And I'm glad I did, because it led me here,
What were you playing?
In Asia? It was all cover music. So it was, I worked for this company called L Live, and they would pool a bunch of talent from all over the world and put them together in cover bands. And they had a network of gigs that they would do residencies at. So we would be at a place for 3 to 6 months, and every night we play, and they would give us sometimes list songs that they wanted us to do. Sometimes we had to come up with them on our own and see just like what the audience likes to hear. And it was a fun experience. It was definitely like a boot camp for me as far as being an artist goes. I had to learn a lot about stamina and about pacing myself, and just about, interacting with crowds and how to do that, and how to be more boisterous in my dealings there.
That's definitely was a great preparation for what you do now.
Yeah, it really was. It was awesome.
I saw that on your LinkedIn profile, but my question on that is, why the heck do you have LinkedIn profile?
I have no idea, man. I ask myself that very often. I'm like, man, maybe I should change this into something, but I just don't know what.
No, it's actually cool.
Maybe I do hope to maybe step into a little bit of motivational speaking, and so maybe then it'll be an asset for me. But right now, there's really no reason for me to have.
But it has a lot of information that I learned. So you've been in several places in Asia, right? From Singapore, Malaysia. What's your favorite place there, and why were you traveling so much?
My favorite place in Asia is definitely Phuket. I love Phuket, Thailand. It's a wonderful place. When I lived in Bangkok, I was there for ultimately about a year. And I was in a relationship, and it was time for me to quit, and my visa was going to be up. And so my partner and I decided to start a restaurant, and we started a restaurant in Phuket. And for a couple of months of preparing, it was so wonderful, and it was just the most heart opening experience ever. And unfortunately, that restaurant failed very shortly after that. But that place is forever. It's a very spiritually cleansing place in my opinion, and that's important to me. And yeah, so that's my favorite place in Asia.
Let's go back to your music career. So you started as a gospel artist. How did
Yeah,
you morph into rock and roll?
that's really cool. So yeah, I started singing in church when I was 7, and so when I started writing music, I was encouraged by my church to not write so many love songs and maybe write
Mm-hmm.
some songs about God, you know? And around the time that maybe from 16 to maybe 23, I was, traveling, and I had albums out. I'd started a record label with some of my friends, and we would go do shows at churches, and I was becoming a youth pastor, and I was on this trajectory, you know? But I came out of the closet, which presented a lot of
Mm-hmm.
um, conflict for, my faith. And that trickled down to my art because, any artist knows that your art's coming from in here. So if there's something going on in here, it's going to show itself in your art. And I started writing some different things, and it really made me just have to kind of draw a line in the sand and really decide for myself what I believed as my truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the closer I get to that, the more my music changed, my own personal music changes to kind of like reflect that. And so, yeah, I did my last gospel album in like 2012. And then I started working with a rock band called Attica, and we did alternative rock. And our biggest influence was one of our favorite bands at the time, Mute Math. And we got to open up for them, and it was wonderful. And from there, I got the attention of this group of people who I did another album with, and it was like more hip hop
Mm-hmm.
and pop inspired stuff, and that was fun. And then I just followed my what I wanted to do, and at the time, I wanted to do some very sentimental kind of like special love stuff, and stuff about having newfound freedom, and stuff about, just contemplating life as a young person. And so I started writing that, and then now I'm here. And it's pretty much the same thing. I just write whatever comes to me. I love writing for other artists, so connecting with people and them being able to tell me their story, and us being able to collaborate and create a music about it is just, it's a beautiful feeling. It's wonderful. And so yeah, hopefully I can keep doing that for the rest of my life.
I have one personal question. So you're growing up in San Antonio, in
Hmm.
Texas,
Yeah.
and in a very religious environment, pretty
Hmm.
much, right? How
Yeah.
was it growing up there, being in closet?
It's a very nuanced answer. Like, I wish it was black and white, but it wasn't. There's variances of, like, my mother's church is very loose, I guess it was. So they're not as intrusive into your
Mm-hmm.
personal life, you know. It's more about community and, like, doing things to help people. My stepmother's church, which is my father's church, was very different, very fundamental, which I also enjoyed because I like, in the same fashion of science, I love getting to the bare brass bones of things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I studied a lot, and as a church, we would go through the Bible, all the way through every year. And I had to learn, some different translations of certain things, and it helped me gain my understanding and really be solid about what it was that I believed. And so it's all been a part of that journey of, like, really coming to understand what my truth is. And some people have been very supportive of that. Some people were not supportive initially and are now. Some people were supportive then and are not now supportive. And it's all fine, and it's all beautiful. And I think that, like, life is of evolving door. Some people you connect with for a certain small amount of time. Some people you connect with for a long amount of time. But we all meet the same end. We're all gonna die. So what you do in the in between is really you should be in charge of it. And I've come to learn that about my life now. And so the people that I have in my life now are very supportive of me and they love me very much. And I love them very much. And we have a really beautiful synergistic thing going, you know?
Yeah, you're a very positive person.
Thanks, man. I try to be.
Yeah, you're a songwriter as well, and I listened to
Mhm.
your some of your earlier albums and songs, and
Thank
they are
you.
very different from what you do now.
Uh-huh.
Like when you write songs today, do you write them in rock and roll style or a little bit that like chill dance? What is it?
Whatever my heart feels to write, I feel dedicated to the mission of getting it out, you know, of just allowing it to be born and fully formed. That's my personal it's my responsibility in my mind, you know. So I'm about to put out actually a solo album, and that has rock on it. It has country. It has R&B. It has hip hop. It has
Wow.
EDM. It has a little folk. That for me is being the most authentic artist that I can be. Is because if you have a chef, there's not just one dish that they make. They pride themselves in being a chef because they can make a myriad of things and you'll love every single one of them, you know? That's kind of their goal in their mind. It's like, I want to be able to make this salmon for you and have it be the best salmon you've ever had. But also, I'm going to cook the steak for you and it's also going to be the best steak you've ever had, you know? And I kind of like feel that way as far as art is concerned. Everything that I do, I want it to be fully formed and fully conceived and as good as it can be. And but I want it to be different. There's a thing in my mind that if someone turns to any station on the radio, I want them to hear something I'm doing, you know? So whether they're listening to rock and roll, whether they're listening to R&B or pop, whether they're listening to alternative rock or some weird folk, whatever yeah, I want you to hear my song in there, you know?
Ah, geez, this guy again. Oh my God,
Yeah,
he's everywhere.
God dang it, God, come on.
What's
Yeah,
like?
that's my personal goal.
Don't you have a preference on the style? Like, if you could write in one style, what would that be? Or there is no such a thing?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I would ever. I feel like that would be kind of squeezing myself, you know, try to fit something big into a small box, you know.
Yeah.
I would never want to do that. I feel like I would. I feel like I'd be putting myself at a disadvantage by only trying to focus on one thing and only that thing. I feel like being a jack of all trades, master of none, is not a bad thing because you can master all of them. They just all take time. You know, everything takes time to master. And I like to do that. So with my rock music, I want to continue to grow and make better rock songs. With my R&B music, I want to continue to grow and make better R&B songs and just allow all of them to grow at the same time. You know, that's my goal anyway.
How supportive is your manager and your band on your solo career?
Very much so. My manager actually she's actually my greatest resource right now. As far as my solo stuff. Actually Gibson, they love everything that we do within the band. We also collaborate and do things together, and they just are so artist positive that they're like, whatever you guys do, if it sounds good, like show it to us, and we want to hear it. And Blaze, the drummer, and Blaze is a great producer, and we write songs together all the time. We have a production company that we're trying to get off the ground so we can produce and write for other artists. And for film and TV, and we do scores, and that's always fun. So there's a lot of creativity that goes on within the band, interpersonally. And so everyone's very supportive of each other. I think that's very, very important for our community, you know. Our bass player, Bennett, will also be releasing some solo music soon.
Nice.
And a lot of the guys in the band have played and write with me for my solo music as well. And so it's very family oriented feeling.
They're great musicians, but Blaze's drums stand out. I'm like, shit, he's really good.
Yeah, he's really good. And it keeps getting better. He's like very adamant about perfecting his craft in all forms. He's an actor, and he's so serious about making sure that he's always growing as an actor and always growing as a drummer, always growing as a producer. He works out more than any person I know because he's like, no, I'm gonna have the best body that I can, you know? And I really appreciate that about him, and I learned from him a lot in that regard.
What was a better feeling to tour with Rolling Stones or to get to the call from them to come back and do it again?
You know, the last time that we were with them was the best feeling ever. That was the last summer, summer of 2022. Best feeling ever because not only, like you said, you know, they called us initially, we did one tour, but they took us overseas. And that, to me, that's showing that they really do believe in us the way that they say they do. And they're so proud of us. They touted us around in the best way. And they were just so like present with us. Ronnie Woods posted us. He would watch our sound check and he posted us on his Instagram. And they were just so sweet and so nice to us. And that was a really, really great experience. I definitely like whenever they even acknowledge us or give us the idea that they want us around. It feels amazing. It feels great.
How did it first come about? Did your manager find that?
I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue.
Stop it. So you just basically woke up and they saying, hey, there is a message from Rolling Stone.
What I do know is that the footage that we used, we did a show with Bret Michaels and he let us film. And it was great. It was great footage that we got. Very much so an asset for us. And I think we used that footage to audition for the Stones. But I don't think any of us thought that we were actually gonna be called back, let alone be chosen to be a part of their tour, you know?
Gotcha.
So we were all very surprised and, you know, pleasantly surprised, but surprised nonetheless. Yeah.
And there are like, I think I remember at least two members of your team, Rolling Stones were their favorite artists. I forgot who you mentioned in the beginning. I think Johnny and somebody else.
Right. Yes. Johnny and Thomas, both guitar players. Yeah.
Okay.
They love, Thomas loves the Stones. Like he didn't pursue music when he was younger. He's been in the movie industry. He played baseball. He's a very smart person when it comes to business, but his heart is music. And he used to play the guitar when he was younger, listening to the Stones. And he always dreamed about playing with the Stones. And he, in his 50s, finally lived out that dream. And it's beautiful.
That's nuts.
He has a picture of him with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and it's just the three of them. And I was a little bummed out that I wasn't in that picture, but it's cool to see this person who just wanted something so bad and he got it. And you just see the satiation just on his face. It's beautiful.
Is the similar story with ZZ Top and other guys you worked with? You auditioned for that, or how does that work?
Yeah, same thing. You know, whenever a big act like that is going to go on tour, they put out their feelers for opening bands. Most of the time, they don't post it publicly because you know everybody would try to do it. So they're like word of mouth, like, hey, do you know anybody who we might like? You know, anyone we should check out? And I think that's how it happened with ZZ Top. It was just like word of mouth that maybe they might be interested in us, and they were, and that was very fun. That was a very, very fun run. I had a blast with ZZ Top. It was great.
You mentioned earlier that there are a few artists you wanted to collaborate with, and I think manager was helping you to make it happen. Who are those artists? I'm curious.
I can't tell you just yet.
Okay.
Who those artists are, but I will tell you that my dream collaborations are Florence Welch. I want to sing with her so bad from Florence and the Machine. I am obsessed, so obsessed with Jack Antonoff. I think he's the most genius. Just like the most genius producer ever. And his band Bleachers is one of my favorite bands. Would love to do some work with them. Really love to do some work with Macy Gray and Coldplay. Joy Williams, Sarah Bareilles. Those artists really inspire me very, very much. And I would be elated to be in the same room as them. It would mean the world to me. So I think we'll see later on down the road if that happens.
Yeah, you almost like selling yourself short a little bit. DM them. I'm sure they want to be part of
maybe
work with you guys too.
Let's see. Maybe I should.
I have a quick blitz for you. I'll give you a quick question and you give me a quick answer for that.
Okay.
So what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Home Alone.
Home Alone?
The first one. Yeah, the first one.
Favorite country to visit?
Favorite country to visit is Switzerland.
Switzerland. Why is that?
Yeah. we were in Bern for the Stone show that ended up not happening.
Hmm.
And when I tell you, I fell in love with life in a whole new way there. I fell in love with both a girl and a boy, and I found a person who was born on my exact same birthday, same time. The river in Bern is runs through the city, and people use it as a lazy river. They get in it, float down, and it's crystal clear. Everything about that experience was just very magical for me and very synchronistic. And I like to feel that way in life. I do a lot of things to try to gain that feeling, and that just was that for me. It was awesome.
What's your favorite cuisine?
Pizza, hands down. And I mean like top tier pizza and also Totino's in microwave kind of pizza. Like all of it is just so great. I love pizza.
Just pizza or Italian in general?
Yeah, no, pizza specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite historical figure?
My favorite historical figure is probably somewhere between Einstein and yeah, let's just say that. It's Einstein.
It's Einstein.
Yeah, actually, it was funny. When I was in Switzerland, I my friend who was born on my same birthday lived in the apartment that Einstein used to live in with his wife before they were married. There's a plaque on the building in the same apartment, the top apartment. And so I got to hang out in Einstein's apartment. It was awesome.
That's wow. Maybe. Well,
Isn't that wonderful?
It's crazy. It's almost on.
Mhm.
Yeah. We need to
Yeah,
check that.
it's
You need to
beautiful.
check. Maybe they just lied to you.
Yeah.
But
No, man, it's a plaque on the building. I was
oh,
so
really?
blown away. Yeah,
Wow.
like right
That's
in, as
crazy.
you're walking in, it says Einstein lived in this apartment, and we walked up to that apartment. It was my friend's apartment, and it had access to the roof, and we
Wow.
played guitar and drank wine over the city. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. Yeah, it
Imagine
was phenomenal.
Einstein had the same view of the city as you did.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow. That's cool.
And that city is very they love to conserve the way everything looks. So a lot of the buildings are 500 plus years old. If you're building something new, it has to like go through a process of approval. It has to look aesthetically the same, you know?
Mhm.
It's beautiful, man. It's wonderful.
What are the best and worst decisions you've made in your life?
The best decision I made was not getting married. So glad I did not do that when I planned to do it. The worst decision that I probably have made, um, in hindsight, I can see in hindsight. I've lived a lot of beautiful experiences, but for most of them, while they were happening, I wasn't enjoying them. I, I have a way of allowing myself to become very anxious and I get upset and angry. And when you're in that space, you kind of miss out on all the beauty that's in front of you, all the beautiful things that are happening, you know? So I'll say those are the mistakes. Those are the things that I wish I could go back and change and kind of like do over and have like a different perspective and really take in all the beautiful things that are happening. Yeah.
What's the first item on your bucket list?
I want to have dinner with Beyonce.
You have a song
Just
about her.
one dinner. I do. I'm a very huge Beyonce fan. She's you know, from Texas as well.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to her since I was 10 years old. She's probably the voice that I've heard the most in my life, you know? I think she's just a phenomenal. I love the way she works. I love that she's so passionate about what she does and that she's so good at it, you know? And she keeps getting better. It's very awe-inspiring to me.
People who listen to the Train to Nowhere would
Mhm.
have hard time reconciling some of your answers today and that. That's awesome. Like it shows you how eclectic you are. It's awesome, man.
I really enjoy that because in my personal life, I found that I often have that effect for people anyway. People have a lot of preconceived notions about uh, other groups of people that they aren't familiar with. So whether it's me being queer or whether it's me being black, I've been in a lot of situations where I've met people and after they've gotten to know me, they've told me like, "Oh, you're a lot different than I thought you would be," because of, and it kind of shone a light on my own preconceived notions about what someone like you would show, how you would show up, and I think that's a very valuable thing. And so I'm really glad that I get to do that in music as well. You know,
100 years from now, right?
Yeah.
How do you want people to remember Tre? Well, hopefully you're still alive, but still.
No, hopefully I'm not still alive
Okay,
in
you
100
hopefully you're
years.
not. All right.
Oh, I don't want to spend that much time here. I hope that people, I hope that when people think of me when I'm long gone, I'm kind of like a totem to remind them to be deliberate in understanding how much beauty is in your world. You know, I want to be that guy. That's like my mantra is vibe high, and that's the kind of energy I want to leave behind. It's like, sometimes it feels like life is happening to you, but the actual reality is that you have so much power to change your perspective. That's where all your power lies. And so if you can see the beauty even amongst the horribleness of the world, I feel like that puts you in a beautiful position that you're supposed to be in, you know? And I want to be a totem for people to remember that thing.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. That's beautiful. Thanks very much for the interview. I know you're very busy. You have a lot of on your plate, and I appreciate you taking time off your schedule.
Thank you so much for having me, man. This has been beautiful.